art design and concept of the characters and the scenery, they have been, you know, changing with all the titles in the franchise. In this new Mortal Kombat, the team were trying to really develop something different from the past.
Yeah, you know, we took a lot of inspiration, like I said, from Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. All of the arenas are just remakes of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. There's a couple new arenas in there, but for the most part, these were arenas that we grew up with as fans of the series that we liked, you know. We have a very distinct idea of what the pit should look like, what the Living Forest would look like, what the Deadpool should look like. You know, allowing our artists to kind of go and do their interpretation of those using state-of-the-art technology in 2011 was something that was really, really cool. There are still basic elements that we have for each one of the arenas and each one of the characters, but because of the capabilities of the 360 and PS3, we can just do a lot more.
About the localization of this game, are you gonna have subtitles, or is it going to be a full localization, like fatality will be fatalidade?
In Portuguese, our story mode will have subtitles. So it'll be kind of the English voiceover with subtitles. We don't localize some of the more iconic things like finish him, you know, fatality, those kind of things. We don't localize in any of the languages. We kind of leave them the same as they've always been because they're kind of a more of an iconic thing. But as far as menus go in, as far as moves lists, those kind of things, those are fully localized. But you know, finish him and fatality, it would be, you know, maybe one day that's something that we could explore. But for this game, we wanted to kind of make it the same experience for everybody. Don't be mad. Don't be mad. I'm sorry.
Working in like full time in Mortal Kombat, a game like that, how does it change your social life? I guess this is a question for the newcomers.
Yeah. I don't know. It's good and bad. I mean, you know, if it wasn't for Mortal Kombat, I wouldn't be here in Brazil, you know, meeting a lot of you guys and experiencing São Paulo and experiencing that kind of stuff. So in a way, it's good. You know, in a way, it's kind of rough because, like I said, with Crunch, you know, I don't get to see my friends and family as much because you're dedicated to the game, you know, 16, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 or 5 months. It's very hard to maintain an active social life, but it's one of the sacrifices that you make when you get into games, you know. That's something that you guys are just going to have to, you know, accept in your life, and once you accept it, it's cool, and once the game is over, there's definitely time to go out and explore and do all kinds of other things. But I'm lucky my girlfriend lives in Brazil, so she doesn't have to worry about not seeing me because she doesn't see me anyway because I live in the United States. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, you know, the game becomes your life, your team becomes your family, and you just focus on the game, and then after that you get to embrace the rewards of what a successful game can bring to you.
Well, this is a question that I believe all the students here want to know. What's your academic graduation?
I actually had a bachelor's, just a liberal arts bachelor's. I was in the Air Force for 6 years, the United States Air Force. I was actually an Arabic linguist, which has nothing to do with games whatsoever. And I came back to the United States and I went to school and I was finishing up my degree and I had planned to be a teacher. And one of my really good friends had a job at Midway, and he told me that they were getting ready to hire temporary testers. And that's how I got in, you know, my job there. So you don't necessarily have to have a degree in anything video game related to do, you know, project management and those kind of things. But some of the more specialized things like computer programming, obviously they're not going to let a school teacher do computer programming. You're going to need to have a computer science degree. Artists especially will need, you know, 3D modeling, 3D sculpting kind of thing. You know, concept artists would need, obviously, traditional art skills, those kind of things. It depends on what discipline you want to get into games for what you would need to require for a gaming degree. But then there's also those stories of people that don't have degrees that get into games just because of their skill alone. So it's a fine line, but I would suggest everybody go to school for what they want to do.
Any special advice for the Brazilian students here that want to follow this career?
Uh, it's gonna sound cheesy, but just never let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do. If you guys really feel that you have a good idea, just see it through and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Brazil is interesting because the market is so new here and it's so fresh. It's going to be one of you guys in this room that makes the first great AAA title from Brazil. There's been a lot of titles that are coming out, but there's nothing really that's been kind of that worldwide phenomenon yet. And I feel the technology is coming down here. There's a lot of opportunities. You guys are in school. You guys are learning things, and there's there's a big piece of the pie down here in Brazil, especially to kind of make a very national game, a game that's produced by Brazilians, that's manufactured here, that's distributed here. You guys have a really good opportunity to take advantage of that, and you guys can kind of break ground that hasn't been broken before. So I'm actually jealous of the opportunity that you guys have down here, and just keep doing. Make your demos. Get them out there. Take advantage of the programs like the XNA program with Xbox. There's very good tools out there for you guys to get your work out there, because design is universal. Art is universal. It doesn't matter what language you speak. If you're talented, somebody's going to find a way to talk to you. So just don't give up. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's the best advice that anybody can ever give you is, if you feel that video games is something that you're passionate about and you're willing to do that kind of work, then just keep going and don't let anybody tell you no.
Unfortunately, we don't have much time, so I have two questions here that I guess it's really interesting for the students. First of all, the students here have to do a lots of theoretical research to justify things in the game. Do you do something like that when you work on the game?
Totally. We want to make sure that a lot of the elements that we use in the game are authentic. We do a lot of location scouting, especially for shading, for doing three-dimensional things. We'll take pictures of lighting, of buildings to make sure that it seems as realistic as possible. We're fortunate that Mortal Kombat is kind of set in a fantasy universe, so we don't have to really focus on field work too much, because these are realms that don't exist. These are fantasy realms. But for a lot of games, people really do those kind of things, and especially for for an example, Liu Kang and Kung Lao, these are supposed to be Shaolin monk characters. So we do a lot of research to make sure that their outfits are actually traditional, that we're not doing anything wrong with them, to make sure that they're actually indicative of those kind of cultures. So we actually do it, and it's always good design lasts a long time. There's very good design elements of past art that can kind of be translated into the 21st century. So it's very good to do that kind of research when you're looking at art and trying to develop things, because good design lasts for a really long time.
Now the last question, unfortunately, our time is over. What software were used for 3D modeling and animation?
Right now, primarily, we use a lot of Maya. Maya is huge. The Unreal editor, another thing, is very big right now. We use Unreal a lot, but Maya is what we use for 3D. And then some of the artists use plugins like Crazy Bump and those kind of things to do textures, but Maya is the pretty big deal that we have.
Okay, thank you very much for.
All right, thank you everybody for coming.
Pessoal, agradeço. Desculpa a falta de tempo da gente não poder mais ler, mas o nosso tempo realmente acabou. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. Like I said, I'll be around this weekend, so if you guys see me at the booth or whatever, and you guys have follow-up questions, I'll totally be able to help you guys out. All right, thank you a lot.